Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Cata, and I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing here at TrialStat Solutions. I'm thrilled to be presenting this product showcase to you today. TrialStat was founded in 2003, and over the last 17 years, we have had continuous product development, which is astounding. We run a agile development methodology, so we have a quarterly release cycle. So we've been innovating on our platform for the last 17 years, and I'm going to take you through some of the core capabilities, but also some of the newest features that we've brought into the platform. So quick overview, TrialStat is a software company. We're not a CRO, we're not a data management company, we're not clinical consultants. What we are is experts at designing and running efficient and comprehensive e-clinical technology. So at the core of our platform, of course, is our EDC platform. It is a software as a service solution hosted by us in our data center. And I'll talk a little bit about our data center, but there's some unique capabilities there. So we are a software company. We actually partner with CROs and clinical consultants, and in some cases directly with sponsors. And we can actually even subcontract that work if you as a sponsor want to hire us directly, but want to work with one vendor and still need a CRO or pharmacovigilance or any other services, we can actually tap into our partner network and bring those resources to the study. We also provide study design and validation. So we actually design studies for you. And we use our own web-based tool. It's our study designer. It's fully HTML5 compliant. There's no programming required. It's about configuration. We also provide designer training and certification. So if you want to insource our study design tools, we will train your team, and we do mentor builds so that we can train them and also help them build their first few studies. So you can actually bring that capability in-house. We do provide full project management services. And one of the things that really sets us apart is our custom validated software development. This could be a unique feature that you require in a particular trial that just isn't available in another platform, or you just need it, and so we can actually create that that unique user experience or that unique systems integration to capture some data. As an example, we had a complex radiopharmaceutical study that required tracking very closely the handoff of a radiopharmaceutical from the manufacturing to when it was delivered or given to the patient. And we developed a custom system to actually keep track of that drug, of that radiopharmaceutical. And we also run bespoke machine learning programs in our data center, and I will talk a little bit about that later on. What I want to leave you with from this slide, though, is that TrialStat is unlike any other EDC platform on the market today. Most EDC systems are designed for small phase 1 studies or complex, phase 3 oncology, pivotal trials or something like that. But TrialStat's unique. We designed our platform and our licensing to support everything from preclinical to post-marketing on a single platform, and we will dive into that a little bit later. But we're also a very open architecture, and we're creating a platform that is always evolving and is capable of running novel clinical trials, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Of course, we have premium features built right within EDC, so you can have unlimited complexity in your randomization. We have a full medical coding module that supports MEDRA and WHO drug, as well as custom dictionaries, and it also supports multiple versions. And on the versioning side, we also support protocol amendments, of course. You don't have to take the study offline, and you can have multiple protocol versions. So as sites are rolled out onto the new protocol, they can start using the new one, but you can still continue with previous sites that are still on the old protocol. We have our own ePro module. it's HTML5 compliant, so as is our EDC platform. It renders properly based on the screen size. So if you go down to a small laptop, it's going to re-render. If you go to a tablet, it's going to re-render and still look proper. Even on a phone, it will change its user interface to appear correctly for that device. We have a very strong API, which I will mention a little bit later on because it's kind of one of the key components for us. But through that API, we can connect into any other third-party ePro system. So if you already have a piece of technology that you're using, we can integrate that and use it within the TrialStat platform. TrialStat itself is eSource. So if you are looking towards either running a full eSource trial or trying it out, we can support you with that. You can track your adverse and serious adverse events in a single form. And of course, then you can generate your regulatory forms out of that, such as a MedWatch. It's PDF based, so you can create any, any regulatory form you want to capture. You can create that in a PDF and then use that as the template. We don't have our own built-in CTMS. Instead, we've partnered. In this case, we've partnered with Simple Trials, and I'd be happy to talk to you about them in the Q&A. But we can work with any other CTMS platform on the market, and we actually will integrate with other CTMSs as well. We provide real-time reporting and analytics in our portal environment, and I'll talk a little bit later about that. We also have a vendor-neutral imaging archive through our partnership with Fujifilm Teramedica. And this is a capability that is unique in this space from Teramedica, in that we can capture imaging from either directly from the site or the core lab, bring it into our environment, de-identify it, use it with adjudication, but then make it part of your data lake. So we can actually help you gain control over these imaging assets. And we will talk a bit about that later on. Through our API, you can connect into any other third-party system. So we can help you with that if we want to, connect into an EMR, for example, or gather data from a medical device. TrialStat is also fully multilingual, both the user interface and the ECRFs. And those two can actually be in different languages if you need to do that. And it's role-based. So when the user first signs in, they choose the language that they want the user interface to be in the ECRFs as well. We can also integrate with third-party software algorithms, which I will touch on a little bit later. On top of those premium features, of course, are what we call premium capabilities. I'm being a little facetious, but there's quite a few, and these are just some examples of these key differentiators. Built right within the platform are hundreds of customizable edit and logic checks, and the way in which you invoke them is completely customizable. They can be modal pop-up windows. They can be hard and soft. It's completely configurable. And if you have complex logic that perhaps we don't support as part of our custom software development, we'll actually implement that for you at no cost. And those edit checks can be cross-form, cross-visit. It doesn't matter. There's no limit to how those can be triggered. We have over 40 standard and configurable reports. That's in addition to our reporting and analytics portal. We have a full CDASH compliant CRF library, and our CRFs are actually completely customizable in terms of the layout and the skip logic. Most EDC systems constrain you to a vertical layout. You question one, and they're stacked one on top of the other. With TrialStat, you can actually control horizontal and vertical layouts, but you can also add embellishments such as tables, borders, and things like that. So you can create your own custom CRF templates and make them part of your standard library, and then replicate those for subsequent studies. The workflows are completely customizable, as are the role-based security access, the names of those roles, and the capabilities that each have. We have support for multiple cohorts. We can do builds in 2 to 4 weeks, and that's not just a small study. That we do that for large complex studies as well. That's how fast our study designer is. We have a very low latency, high speed user experience. So, coordinators need to be able to do their data entry quickly and efficiently, without compromising quality, of course. And we've invested in our data center in terms of the hardware infrastructure and our data storage, which is done on these devices called pure storage arrays. And that's solid state drives. So they're incredibly fast. And that gives us, combined with our software performance, gives us that low latency, high speed user experience. It also allows us to do all of our reporting in real time. So as data is being entered, it's appearing in your reports. It's not, data is not being processed overnight. So you're seeing day-old data. It's happening in real time. And again, that also extends into our data extracts. So not only can you do your own data extracts yourself, but the data is in real time. So again, as it's entered, you can pull it down. Our study designer, as I mentioned, is completely web-based. There's no programming required to operate it. And you can completely replicate entire studies or individual forms. One of the additional factors that makes TrialStat so different from other EDC platforms, as I mentioned, is our focus on supporting an entire clinical program from beginning to end. So we actually are not interested necessarily in individual studies. We're interested in creating relationships with our partners and our sponsors from the very beginning of their clinical program. So when they're still preclinical, running proof of concept studies and feasibility studies, we want to be running those very small studies for them. So they might be a startup or an established company, but with a new clinical program. We want to then take that into phase 1, 2, and 3 and into post-marketing. And by doing this, sponsors and CROs are saving saving time and money in terms of contracting, training, and then also saving or gaining benefits, if you will, from having all of their data in a single platform instead of being siloed in these other EDC platforms. So there's some efficiencies you can gain by having that data in a single platform. But we go one step further and we support the unique requirements of medical device studies, diagnostics, and any kind of surveillance program that you want to run, and even expanded access programs. So we can scale our technology down to run these small trials and the licensing without compromising quality or capability, so that when you get to your pivotal trial, you don't have to start you don't have to start looking for other technologies. Of course, we're 21 CFR Part 11 compliant. We're also HIPAA and GDPR compliant. We do run our own dedicated data center in a facility managed by Rackspace in Somerset, New Jersey. We chose, obviously we could take everything to the cloud, but we chose specifically to maintain our dedicated environment, as I mentioned, so that we can actually control the quality of the infrastructure that we have in place, and manage the quality of the storage that we have in place. We do use cloud-based environments, in particular Microsoft Azure. And Microsoft Azure is actually it's our hot failover environment. So we actually replicate our entire data center into Microsoft Azure. And this, becomes part of our disaster recovery and business continuity planning. It's also our backup environment. So if for whatever reason there's a complete failure of our core data center, we can have our environment in Azure up and running within hours. So that is critical for us and our clients. Of course, we have complete and comprehensive audit trails as part of 21 CFR Part 11, and of course, built-in electronic signatures. I'm going to touch briefly on these two capabilities, imaging and adjudication. we've always been working with images. We do a lot of oncology trials, and we've always had, the capability to upload images into an ECRF. However, with DICOM and certain other types of medical imaging, the file sizes are unwieldy. And we also, at the same time, realize that sponsors, because of that, actually have a hard time aggregating their imaging assets and keeping control over them. They get stuck at the site, they get stuck at the core lab, they have some on a file network in their office. They don't have a core repository for it that is vendor neutral. It's not tied into one of the imaging devices, for example. So we partnered with Fujifilm, Terra Medica, to bring their vendor neutral imaging archive technology into our data center and make it available with unique licensing arrangements specifically for clinical trials. So their technology typically has been installed in large institutions with enterprise licensing. That model just doesn't translate into running individual clinical trials. So now with their technology in our data center, it gives our sponsors long-term image storage capabilities. We can capture that imaging from the site or the core lab, bring it into our environment, de-identify it, make it available for adjudication in a clinical trial, but then again, make it available post-trial in our data lake, and I'll mention that on our final slide. But the capabilities are fully configurable, access for the imaging core lab to do their work. Again, using our solid state storage drives, we can actually move that imaging data around the environment quickly, but also render it quickly in the integrated HTML5 DICOM viewer, so you can actually view that DICOM imaging or any other medical file that you're capturing in the VNA. We are in the midst of developing our adjudication capability, and that is coming out at the end of this year. But like all of our capabilities, very robust, completely customizable, and of course, integrated with our vendor neutral imaging archive technology. And now for the part that I like most, it's talking about our focus on interoperability. And I'm going to take you through this diagram. I'm going to zoom in on it and take you through a high-level overview of the entire TrialStat platform. So let's just dig into it. I'm going to use my little magnifying glass here. As I mentioned already, you can run anything from a feasibility study, just one if you want, just one feasibility study, or an entire clinical program on the TrialStat platform from beginning to end. TrialStat is a single sign-on multi-tenant solution, so you have one username and password and one URL to log into the system. It doesn't matter if you're the patient doing a PRO, the coordinator at a site, the CRO, yourself, the sponsor, or anyone else, data manager, monitor, and so on. You've got one username and password and one URL to gain access to the entire system using role-based security, but also the different environments. So maybe it's a study that's being developed, maybe it's one that's in UAT, or a live study. And just by accessing that study through a dynamic dropdown, you can switch seamlessly between these environments. Up in here is our VNA technology. And as I mentioned, we can completely capture imaging from the site or the core lab, depending on what workflow you want to have, bring it right into our environment, de-identify it, and then make it available inside of EDC for adjudication. Where it gets a little bit more exciting is leveraging the VNA post-trial by continuously aggregating imaging. And I'll talk a bit about that in a second. But what I wanted to focus on down here is our very robust API. There's nothing worse than having data in another system that you can't get to and having to, just as an example, create a report by pulling down, two files, two Excel files, then merging the data and then sending it off. Through our API, we can connect into any other third-party system that you may be working with. It could be a CTMS, a safety system, an eTMF. It could be a competing EDC platform. We play nicely with everybody. But what we want to do is liberate that data you've got siloed in all these different environments and make you that much more efficient, and create a platform that empowers your CROs and your clinical consultants to help you design novel clinical trials. And this then extends into our ability to integrate with EMR and EHR systems, whether that's, you know, Epic or Cerner in a large institution, or one of the many smaller EMR systems that sites might be using. If you're using that site regularly, it may make sense to actually do that integration to lower the data entry burden on the actual coordinators, so that they can just push data in, like capture it once in their EMR and then push it into EDC. This also extends into medical devices. So this could be a wearable device that is tracking vital signs. It could be doing gait analysis. It really doesn't matter what it is, but we can actually do that integration and leverage that data regularly on an ongoing basis inside of a clinical trial. But this also extends into the world of software. So validated algorithms that are on the market. It could be detecting disease and imaging or acoustic files, and you want to be able to take advantage of that capability. We can actually license their technology, integrate it into our platform, and make it available for you to use either on your clinical trials or part of a bespoke machine learning program. And these devices also extend into devices that might help the performance of a clinical trial. So this could be a device that's doing drug dispensation directly at the patient's home. It could be a device that's facilitating telemedicine visits so that the patient doesn't have to go into the clinic all the time. We can integrate with those devices and have the metadata that they're creating integrated right within EDC. And then that extends out into the rest of this environment. So all of your clinical trial data, your imaging assets, whether they were captured with TrialStat or another platform, you can aggregate it all within our data lake. And we can run bespoke machine learning programs with you against your clinical trial data and imaging assets. But also we continuously work on partnerships to license third-party data sets to bring them together to get the scale and volume of data needed to run these bespoke machine learning programs. We will also, if you want to work with another vendor, machine learning vendor, we can programmatically and securely expose your data to that third party for them to run their machine learning programs against it. Or we can actually bring their technology right within our data center. And then lastly, I'm going to zoom out, but I just want to touch on Portal. So sitting across our entire platform is our reporting and analytics portal. This is designed to provide you with dashboards that traverse the entire platform, but also pull in data from third-party systems. So, if you are running 2 or 3 other trials on a competing EDC platform, you still may want to see a single dashboard that has those 3 trials plus the ones you have running on TrialStat in a single view. And we can do that through our reporting and analytics portal. So with that, I'll end there and we'll turn it over to the Q&A.